West, Wisconsin manufacturer says it won't allow unscheduled prayer breaks. Muslim employees at the company had been able to leave the production line for unscheduled breaks to pray, but the company changing the policy last week to only scheduled breaks.
No one was terminated. Everyone is still, as we consider, an employee of Aaron's company, of these 53 affected employees. Let's say I'm on an assembly line with 10 people, and 2 of those people take an unscheduled break. Everything stops.
Joining me now, attorneys Eric Guster, criminal defense attorney, David Bruno, also a criminal defense attorney, as well as a former prosecutor and trial attorney. Okay, David, let me start with you. How has the policy changed at this company, if at all?
Well, they have to make a reasonable accommodation, and they have been making reasonable accommodations. They basically said they could take 2 breaks unexpectedly. What the change is now is, it has to be done during a certain period of time. So that's the reasonable accommodation that's being made.
Okay, so they still get to have these breaks. They're 10 minutes each, 2 breaks per shift. So do you find the company is doing anything egregious?
No, the company is well within their rights because they're a production company. And as long as they can make religious accommodations, as long as it's not overly burdensome upon the company, because this is a manufacturer where it's an assembly line. So if they allow several employees to take unscheduled breaks, that means that that assembly line shuts down, which really impacts the company's bottom line.
Okay, let's look at another example. Cargill Beef. There was a prayer dispute a few years ago. 150 Muslim workers were fired. Actually, it was just this past year in late 2015 after a dispute over the time that they were allowed to go and pray. In early 2016, the company changed its rehire policy to allow the fired employees to reapply for their jobs. The city's residents of East African descent, some of whom still have their jobs, are now at odds with those who do not. So I have a feeling we're going to see more of these disputes.
Well, a reasonable accommodation depends on the situation. Like Eric was saying here, there's an assembly line. So if one person is missing, the assembly line has to stop. In fact, the company, Aaron's company, came out today and said that it's costing them over $1 million a year for the unexpected breaks. That's a substantial amount.
Okay, so it's not discrimination on religious grounds in your mind?
This is not discrimination. I wanted my best. I tried my best to side with the Muslim employees and try to find something because I'm a plaintiff's lawyer as well. But in this situation, it's not. They are an assembly company. It's not like it's a telephone answering company where someone could just take up the slack. They have to stop the assembly line to accommodate to these special religious needs, and it's really unfair to the company.
All right, and obviously the company hired probably a lot of legal eagles to figure out where they stood before they came up with this
I'm
policy.
sure they did.
Sure.
Eric and David, thank you.
Thank you.
Fox News Alert now, the White House weighing in after the Supreme Court agreed